My name's Emily, and I just feel like praising God right now because that video is like completely relevant to my testimony, and I'm just so excited to tell you about this right now. I grew up in a Christian home, and I always heard the stories that people would talk about. Like, I grew up in a Christian home, and then I had that God moment. My life was changed. It was like, good for you. I'm proud of you. It's great. And I wish I could get that moment. And sometimes I'd have them, when I go to youth retreats, but I'd always find myself sliding back, and no matter how hard I would try, something was always going wrong. And I would spend time in the Word, and I'd be like, wow, I feel like I could relate that to what's going on in my life, but I don't know what to do. And I was just always constantly confused and battling with myself. I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I would tear myself down about that constantly. In my freshman year, everything started to hit me how high school does. Like, appearance started taking over, and wanting to, get a guy maybe, and standing out and stuff. And I remember this guy, who will not be named, he just came to my life, and he started to take over every single aspect. But I didn't want to admit it, because I know he was a Christian guy, so it was okay. And, that was pretty much just took over everything. And I didn't want to admit that something was wrong with my relationship with God. And I didn't realize that my relationship with God was only good when my relationship with others and my relationship with myself was okay. Or something like that. And I told myself that I was okay with God, not because I truly was, but because I knew how to convince myself that I was. It's pretty good convincing. Anyway, but I was frustrated, and I never felt good enough, and I didn't know what to do. If you know me in real life, I get confused very easily. So I was confused in my life all the time, and I was just going crazy. I tried, and I heard things, but I never knew what I could do, and I never knew when God would finally break through, because I would hear all these testimonies, and I would hear all these sermons, and I'd say, God, I'm trying, but where are you? I can't feel you. What's going on? And then last year, my sophomore year, everything I felt started to be taken away from me. Like, the guy, he drifted out of my life, and then my friends started to get crazy, and then I found out I was moving, and I'm like, I have nothing. I don't know where to go, and I don't know who to turn to, and I fought it, and I was miserable, and I didn't want to change the situation, and it was really hard for me. And before this, throughout my freshman year and whatnot, I would write these prayers to God, which is crazy. How it relates to that. I would just completely be honest, be asking him questions like, what's going on in my life? When are you going to break through? And then I found myself last year, just at this point, I just stopped talking to God, because I didn't even want to talk to anyone. I felt dead. And I remember one night I decided to talk to God, because no one else was there, and these are my exact words. I wrote them down. I said, I'm empty and broken, and I feel like nothing could fill this. No comments on my profile pictures telling me that I'm pretty. No guys telling me that I'm pretty. No amount of clothes, no amount of money, no amount of friends could fill this void in my heart. And I cried out to God. I was just in my room. Call me an emotional teenage girl if you want me to, but I was just crying, and I was screaming out to God. And I was like, God, I don't want anyone. I don't even want me. And in that moment, everything changed. I could hear God say, you did it. I went to school the next day, and I was joyful, and I was so happy. And you know me, you also know that I struggled with a long time with my makeup and masking that with everything. And then the next day at school, I went to school without makeup, and I was like, I feel great. Jesus is with me, and I'm very happy. And love just filled my heart. And I know that a lot of people, it's hard. It's I know I'm supposed to love people, but it's really hard because high school it's hard. It's really hard to love people sometimes, and I struggle with that. But when I stepped into school the next day, love just was everywhere, and it wasn't hard for me. And I could forgive those who hurt me, and I could move past that. I'm just here to say that you need to stop listening to the lies that Satan tells you, and he said you can't do this because you're not patient enough with people. You can't be a good Christian because you're not nice enough, or you don't have the skills to do this or whatever, because that's what I was believing. And that's what kept me from actually listening and sitting down with God and letting him talk to me. You don't need to pay for some big youth retreat to get to this point in God. You can do it just by being willing to sit down and letting Him break you open. Because being broken by God is one of the most beautiful things you'll ever experience in your life. And I love crying now because I know it's from God, and it's great. You need to be willing and you need to be faithful. And when you realize that God puts those people in your life, that you need to take the people that hurt you, and you need to take the people that make fun of you and that love you, that abuse you, that anything, those are the people that are going to build you. And you have to let God work in you, and you have to trust Him. If you want God to be everything, He will make sure He's everything. If you truly want Him to be everything, He will make sure, and He will take away anything that stands in the way. And that's where I was at. And when He does that, it'll feel like it's the end of the world and you will fight it, but when He's done, you will feel perfection in you. It's great. Perfection is great. And believe that when you believe that God can do big things and only He can do big things, He will come in. Because if you don't give up, you win. And I didn't mean to rhyme that, but it's great.